All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
We're the Israelites. We come in week in and week out to prophesy the downfall of this wicked kingdom of America. First and foremost, we would like to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Waha, Rakakradash. Double honors to our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And peace and citations to the elect Akim, kicking this word in sincerity and in truth. I got the brother Yarala with me, and I'm the brother Sha'ar, and we're from the Great Millstone Dallas camp. And just this Saturday morning or this Saturday afternoon, we just wanted to go into just a lesson, quick lesson, or however the spirit, lasted time-wise. We wanted to go into how Adam and Yahawashi are actually within the same. They're the same pretty much when the Heavenly Father had created Adam and when he blew his breath in him, which is that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He didn't only just give him life because he was already alive before it, but he gave him understanding on how to rule. All right. Adam was pretty much ordained king of the earth when that breath was, given to him. He understood, the cycles of the air, the seasons, the sun, the moon, the stars, all their purposes. It wasn't just the fact that he was just there naming animals and creatures. You know what I'm saying? He was made Lord over all of those, but he was given understanding on everything, man. All right. And that was pretty much, with us being Israelites, we're still direct descendants of Adam when you go into the sons of God. And it hasn't changed, but pretty much we're going into how that same spirit that was created back then was a spirit that's gonna rule later on, which is to be Yahawashi, who conquered death. All right. Sin and death was sown within Adam, and it was conquered through Yahawashi, which is the second Adam. Okay. So there's a few scriptures we wanted to go into. We're gonna start off on 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, and start on the 53rd verse. And we'll kind of, bounce around from there. Pretty much how, again, Adam was given this position to rule the earth over in paradise, which is Eden, and how Yahawashi is going to do the same thing with this new paradise that's to come, which is going to be eastward in Eden, New Jerusalem, with the elect ruling under him. Okay?
It's 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 53. Upon the 6th day thou gavest commandment unto the earth that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things.
Mm-hmm.
And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
That's right. So it made a distinction of this person, because when I say that, when you go into the previous verses, I believe when you started around verse 48 or 49, it talks about how the Lord had created Enoch and how he created Leviathan. And when you go into that word Enoch, that word actually means upright, specifically when you go into that verse, because that was when man was made. Okay, when all the creatures was made, when you read it in Genesis, the 1st chapter, you got to include man with that as well. That's why he said, male and female, I created them. Therefore, be fruitful and multiply. So man was already created. They was already established on the planet Earth. All right, they already had a certain role, and out of those men, that's why I mentioned Adam after the 6th day in the 54th verse, because that's when he had chosen a man out of all those men to give rulership and dominion to understand the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahawashi. Okay? And it talked about whom made Lord of all thy creatures. All right? It doesn't mean that he was just talking about the animals. You know what I'm saying? We're considered creatures too. It made him Lord over everything. He had dominion over all. He was the king of he was the king of the earth. Did you have a precept he was gonna pull up? Okay, Khan, that's a bet. He was made the king of the earth when he was made Lord of thy creatures. And then it said, of him come we all, and the people whom thou hast chosen. So there's a difference. Of course, everybody comes from Adam, but also the chosen people come from Adam too. When you go into his children, when you read the scriptures, they're listed as the sons of God. When you go into it, starting from Genesis, the 5th chapter, and also too, you can read about it in Luke, the 3rd chapter as well. And it ain't changed. We're not called sons of God no more, but we're princes of the power, which where the name Israel comes from. Yashar Allah. So we're carrying on those same traditions as our forefather Adam. Okay. What precept did you have, brother?
Just something back here about man being a creature as well.
Okay.
So Ecclesiastes 3 and 18.
Khan. So I'm just my phone acting. You said 3 and 18? Khan. I can read it for you if you want.
Go ahead.
Ecclesiastes 3 and 18. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts.
Right. So that's just to back up the brother on the point. How he said that man is a part of that creature as well. Okay, that proves it right there. They were also listed as beasts and creatures as well, man. So that backs up the point for the brother, man, that Adam had the rulership over not only the animals and the creeping things and all that, but also man, because he's a beast and a creature as well. You know.
That's right. That's right. Even as the Apostle Peter said, as natural brute beasts turn back pretty much to the ways of destruction, loosely paraphrasing, but going back in that beastly state. You know, that's a good point, brother.
They didn't have that breath and understanding, so that's what makes you a man or a living soul.
That's right.
Just have an understanding of the Heavenly Father.
That's
But
right.
without that, you can see everyone's just in a beast-like state, like a bunch of instinctual monkeys jumping around here, just operating off of instinct and not logic and truth. You know.
That's right. Beautiful point. Khan, I want to go to Genesis, the 2nd chapter, and I want to start at the 15th verse. And this is pretty much going into when the Lord, what we had just read about in in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, how he made Adam after the 6th day, and then pretty much gave him rulership over the creatures. Now we're going into that within the accounts of it, or the records of it, within Genesis, the 2nd chapter. Okay, but there was a key point that had stood out to me within this chapter that I want to get, and then we're going to go into the comparisons of him and Yahawashi and show you that this is actually Yahawashi as well. All right.
It's Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
And who is that man talking about? That man is talking about Adam. And when you go into Eden, or how it's pronounced Idon, that's really talking about the whole planet. Really, Adam had dominion over the whole planet Earth. Okay, it's just pretty much and it's funny. It says put him in the Garden of Eden, which was eastward of Eden. You know what I mean? When you really go into it, a nitty gritty, man, that's the land that was promised to us anyway. That's the same region. You know, so just like he had ruled back then, he had dominion over it. Hey, the same thing's going to happen to, when Yahawashi comes back. He's going to have dominion over that land again, which was given to him, man. And just like pretty much it was meant for him and his family to rule over it, but it never happened because death was sown after they had ate the fruit, So it's going to be completed once Yahawashi comes back and establishes his men, the sons of God, up again, man, But there was a key point that I wanted to go into that verse. It says to dress it and to keep it. So when you go into this word dress, when you go into it, that word there is ibad, okay? And when you go into that word ibad, it means to work and to serve, to labor, to work, to do work, all right? It says to serve as subjects, to serve God. And that's ultimately, what we were placed down here to do, is to glorify the Heavenly Father mainly, of all the works that he's done to show that there is a power, all right? And that energy has been taken off the planet Earth for so long, especially since death has been down here, man. So, of course, there's always been men that were set up in a certain, pretty much at a certain time to serve the Lord and show who he is. And that's what Adam was there to do. That was the sole position of Adam, because when somebody's a so-called, quote unquote, inaugurated as king or brought up as a king, because Adam was a king back then. What you have to do is, when you even go to the law, that king has to learn about the law, has to meditate on it day and night. Now, of course, it wasn't written in stone around the time of Adam. But again, like the brother had mentioned earlier, he was given that breath. All right. So with him giving that breath, or the knowledge and understanding of the Most High, that gave him knowledge on how to serve him. All right. And the people that was around him bear witness to that, because you bear witness to a righteous king to keep that order. If the king is righteous, of course, it's going to be established that order. Of course, until that woman came along, screwed everything up, But again, when you go into that word dress, it means to serve and it means to do work, or to minister, And that was Adam's position, just like that's Yahawashi's position, man. And Yahawashi stressed that all the time, to minister or to serve your brethren, whatever the case is, because that's what a king does, man. A king is a servant to his people, So another word I wanted to go into was keep. And when you go into that word keep, that word is shamar, okay? And we all know what that means. It means to watch or observe. It says to keep guard, to observe, to give heed, to keep, to have charge of. All right, to have charge of, man. So that's a key position he had in Eden. I'll put it like this, man. If he was the only person on the planet Earth around that time, what was he going to watch and keep, man? It already said the creatures when you read about it in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, So, of course, there was plenty of people on the planet Earth back then. There was a rulership back then. Something was set up, and the Lord used Adam to push his energy on the planet Earth. You know, to keep that energy, to keep that energy on the planet Earth, man. And then when you go down, it says to protect and to save life. Is that not what Yahawashi did at the same time? And that's what he does. You know, he's keeping it, man. When the kingdom comes, when he's going to be reestablished as the king on the planet Earth, man, he's going to keep it and he's going to watch over it. They even got that song in the world. He got the whole world in his hands. You know what I'm saying? But it's true, you know. But did you have any precepts? Because I got something in Ephesians if you don't.
No.
Okay, because now we're going into how he was given dominion, how he was made to keep, how he was able to he was made to watch. He was set on high. Okay, so there's a scripture that I want to go into, and this is in the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 22, because this is talking about Yahawashi. Come.
All right, it's Ephesians chapter 1, verse 22. And hath put all things under his feet, and gave him to be the head over all things to the church.
That's right. And now this is talking about Yahawashi. It says he hath put all things under his feet. What is that going into, man? Of course, he placed everything under that, and even death was included in that. You know, because he had conquered death, but pretty much what? Conquered, right? What does it mean to conquer? To take over, to have dominion over something and rule it. But you do it by force at the same time, you know? And Yahawashi had to do that. He did all this by force. And hey, when we take over these wicked kingdoms and when we turn them righteous, man, we're going to do the same exact thing. That's why it says they're going to take the kingdom, you know, but mainly that's not what that verse is going into, that we take in the kingdom. But it says he had put all things under his feet, you know, and gave him to be the head over all the church. Then who was the church? That's us, right? Well, of course, if that's us, and if the Lord one of those men, the elect, and if he made him the head over those elect men, aren't those elect men going to have dominion on the planet Earth? And if those elect men have dominion on the planet Earth, who's going to be over that? It's Yahawashi, man. It says which, and it's Salaki, if you want to, you know, or I can read it, shit, it don't matter. Which is his body, the fulfillment of him that filleth all in all. You know, with Yahawashi's body, he was able to do that. Salaki, I thought you said I could.
No, it's all good. I was going to read your voice since she was speaking on it.
God. You know, but did you have a precept or anything like that?
Yeah, just kind of back you up on that.
Come.
It's Colossians chapter 1, starting at verse 18. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead.
Who is the beginning? It's funny, it called him the beginning, but afterwards the firstborn of the dead. Which he is, but who was the first one to die? He was, after they ate the fruit.
That's right.
Because he was head over that household. Of course, Eve enticed him to do it. But when you include the household, he was the first one, man. You know, which is who was the beginning. And also, too, Yahawashi was that first spirit that was created anyway. You know? Go ahead,
that in all things he might have the preeminence.
Let's go. I want to go into this word preeminence. That word there, I'm going to let it shit.
Strong's G 4409. Protuo.
It says to be first, to hold the first place. You know, to hold the first place, man. I want to go to this word hold really quick. I'm sorry, in the etymology. Well, not I'm sorry, but you know, and afterward we can get back into it. But I'm interested to see what that, which we know the basics of it, you know what I mean, to possess something. But this is a, you know, app I use, Etymology Explorer. When you go into the word hold, it says graciously, friendly, faithful, true. That's funny. That's actually the first definition the definition of the word hold. You know what I mean? So gracious, friendly, faithful, true. Thought it was going to be something else that was in there that might have helped. But, you know, I mean, you know, hey, that helped anyway, because that showed that was the first. That's what the word hold actually means. Yep. You know, it means to be gracious or friendly, you know. So, hey, that's a little cool point to know. You got it, though.
That was pretty much the point, just to back you up on that. Firstborn. So, like I said, I'll read again. Colossians 1:18. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence.
Yeah, he might have preeminence, or he might, might be able to hold through grace, faithfulness, and so forth. And those are also excellent traits that a king needs to have, or a ruler needs to have, in order to be a righteous ruler to his people. You don't think that breath was included with that? The preeminence, that was included with that breath.
That's what made him faithful. He was
That's
chosen.
right.
He was chosen. He was set up to do that, man. As Adam, he had the law, statutes, commandments orally. You know what I'm saying? So he was entrusted with that. With the truth and being faithful, and keeping hold of it, and passing it down. Same thing with Yahawashi, man. He was faithful in his father's business, and he's taking hold of that domain, that rulership that was blessed to him, and he's gonna give it to us, man.
That's right.
Lord willing, we those men, but he's gonna pass it down to his elect.
God.
Same way Adam did, passing it down the oral traditions to that specific line. Hey, Yahawashi is doing the same thing.
That's right. That's dope how the spirit works, how it began to how we fell to how we're coming back up. Because when we began, just something made me think about, that breath that we're going into so heavily, that the word was engrafted in him. Of course, they went off, and after now we got to, eat from the tree of good and evil. I'm sorry, you know what I'm talking about, the tree of not the tree. We ate from the tree of knowledge, but not the tree of life. Salaki. You know what I'm saying? So now we can understand that good and evil. So we went through that process, and within that refining process, we're being perfected to be able to withhold that again. To be worthy enough to have that. When Adam had that, he was pure at that time. That was in him, man. Like, it was in him 100%. And it's going to get back to that point when that engrafted word is going to be us again. Just a point I wanted to bring out on there. But I got really quick Romans, the 5th chapter. So I can and I want to start just to the point, verse 14.
5:14. Okay. Romans chapter 5, verse 14. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them that had not sinned after the similitude of Adam's transgression, who is the figure of him that was to come. Yeah, so
that's a key point, because it went from Adam to Moses, and how death reigned on the planet Earth since then. Because when you read up in Romans 5, it talks about death, all right, and how it was sown on the planet Earth, and that was through Adam, But it talks about how it reigned in the earth from Adam to Moses. All right, and when you go into those periods of time, you had a void where the law wasn't written. Of course, again, we understood it orally, but you go to the time of Moses, that's when it actually had to be re-implemented on stone. But again, it's going into Adam, and it says, even over to them that had not sinned after the similitude of Adam's transgression, who is the figure of him that was to come. That's the key point, because it's talking about this being that's the exact figure of Adam. And when you go into that, because of course it could have named Moses and all of them to be the figure, but it didn't. It talked about one specific person that was in the figure of Adam for a reason. Of course, now we're all fashioned after the Lord. You know what I mean? We get it, whereas descendants were meant. So, we might have features that look alike. You know what I'm saying? But it talks about this person being the exact figure unto Adam. All right, you would have thought it would have mentioned some of the people before Yahawashi was on the scene, but it didn't for a reason. So I just want to see what this word figure is. That word there is pronounced typos. All right, and it says the mark or a stroke or blow, print, a figure formed by a blow or an impression of a figure or an image of the image of the gods. All right, so but when you go into it, it says of the figure or image. So it talked about Yahawashi being that exact figure. That's an image. All right. It could have named anybody else, but it didn't. All right. It didn't name it for a reason. It's a reason why I called him that figure, man. Let me see here. It says, in the technical sense, the pattern and conformity to which a thing must be made. Let's see here. An example to be imitated. In a doctrinal sense, of a type, a person, of thing, prefiguring a future messianic person or thing. I mean, pretty much it goes on, but pretty much the key on that is of that figure. He's that image. All right. So that's pretty interesting when you go into that, because it talks about this guy being the same figure as Adam, man. You know, did you have something?
No, not really.
Okay, and we can. I mean, you know, we can end it off on Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter. I'm sorry, the 15th. That's pretty much, you know, getting to the point.
Yeah, that completely backs up what you were just saying about him being that image, you know, and that figure, because it actually brings it out right here in this chapter. Where do you want to start at?
You can start. Man. You can start at verse 20.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, start at verse 20. But now Hamashiach is risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept.
There it goes again. You know, the first fruit. The first of them that slept. Go ahead, you got it.
For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead.
And, I mean, really, you know, it's funny that it's saying man, but we know it's talking about Adam. It's talking about Adam. When you substitute the word for, since by Adam came death, by Adam came also the resurrection of the dead. Even when you go in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, it talks about how he placed the man in the Garden of Eden. You know, we know that man is talking about Adam. You know, go ahead.
That's right. Verse 22. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive.
Mm-hmm. And when you go into it, it's just talking about, you know, Yahawashi, the Messiah, the Mashiach. You know, when you go to Mashiach, what does it mean? It means a king, you know, a ruler, a Messiah. You know, for as Adam all die, even so in Adam shall all be made alive. Even though it says the Mashiach, but how do we know it's talking about Adam? The previous verse. Man also came the resurrection of the dead. You know? Go ahead.
Quick reset for you. Revelation chapter 1 verse 11. Saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, and what thou seest write in a book, and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, and Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. And so the point was, the Lord said, I am the Alpha and Omega, man. That means the beginning and the end. You know, that's the first letter and the last letter of the Greek.
That's right.
You know? So let's back to build up on that point, you know?
Hey, that's a great point. That's a great point. Let me go back to where we had left off at. And 1 Corinthians 15.
22.
Okay.
Verse 22 again. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, Hamashiach the first fruits. Afterward, they that are Hamashiach's at his coming.
I mean, you know, to substitute the word for man, you know what I mean? Like, it's so many ways to show you that it's going from, you know, Adam to Yahawashi.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And who was the first? I mean, technically, Adam was the first fruit, you know. Yahawashi, Adam was the first fruits of death, and then, you know, Yahawashi was life. Mm-hmm. But who had to conquer death? You know, he had to go through the same thing, man. He had came back as Isaac, he came back as Solomon, and when you go into even Adam and Solomon, they all were given that, and they both were given that instruction on how to rule, on how to be the wisest person on the planet Earth. When you think about it technically, if that breath was given into Adam, that made him the wisest man on the planet Earth. Because he had it. You know? He was given that. What Solomon prayed for it, he was given that. Yahawashi was baptized, he was given it. You know? That's, man, hey, that's Yahawashi, man.
That's right.
You know, these scriptures are written in mystery format for a reason, man, in a coded language for a reason. It's only meant for certain people to get it, man. And that's part of that new song. You know? Go ahead, up.
Verse 24. Then cometh the end, and when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power.
Put down all rule and all authority and his power. He gave Yahawashi the power to do it. You know, the Heavenly Father had the power. He gave Yahawashi the power, man. When you go into Genesis, he gave instruction to Adam to what? To dress and to keep it. You know, when you go into that, it means to have complete dominion over it, man. To have rulership. You know, you got it.
Yep, and now we're coming to a time where he's gonna have that dominion rulership again.
That's right.
But the kingdom's gonna last forever, man.
Mm-hmm.
God says he brought in death first as Adam, to which we died, and we fumbled. You know, the elect fumbled at that time, man, because we was still as men.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're gonna be those living souls will have their righteousness written, the laws, statutes, commandments written in the heart forever, man. To where we're gonna have life everlasting.
That's right.
Okay.
That's beautiful. It took the same man that produced that death. It took the same man to have to conquer the death, man. The same man. And that's what we got to go through. Like the brother Kazak, the elder Kazak from Mississippi mentioned one time, and it's something that stuck, man, but we baby Yahawashis. Are we not sons of Adam? We baby Yahawashis. We fail. We got to go through the same thing. He did the ultimate course, you know? Really quick, I got a quick precept I want to pull up, and this is the book of Hebrews, the 7th chapter. Let me see if I can find it. And when it pretty much goes into how the priest had to sacrifice not only for his own sins but for his people. Okay. Khan. He said starting at verse 26? Okay.
Hebrews 7:26. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needed not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins, and then for the people's. For this he did once, when he offered up himself.
Yeah, so it's going into how the high priests had to offer, when they offered up sins, they had to offer up sins not only on their own, but the people's as well. But it's talking about a specific high priest within this, because when you read the chapter, it talks about the order of the order of Melchizedek, and then the order of the high priest office with Levi, and it goes into how Melchizedek was the ultimate high priest, which is Yahawashi too, you know, but how he was the ultimate high priest, and how that tradition had to start from somewhere when we went into the Levitical priesthood. You know, it didn't start within the tribe. It was an original way that it was, and it was taught orally, you know, before the tribes were even in existence. And it mimics it the same exact way, the same exact fashion. So it's pretty much going into within Yahawashi being a Judite, but he's the ultimate priest because he goes back to the beginning of how it was originally established, the order of Melchizedek, man. You know, and pretty much going into that, how that high priest had to offer up sins for his own. You know, it's talking about Yahawashi and where did his sins come from that he had to offer up for. Yahawashi was on the planet Earth perfect when he walked as Yahawashi, when he was the son of Joseph and Mary. He didn't sin, you know, but he had to atone for his sins from somewhere. So let's think back and put our thinking caps on really where those sins came from, because it points it out specifically that he sacrificed for his own and for somebody else's, you know. You got Adam who transgressed first, and then Solomon transgressed. He had to suffer for that. You can even read about it in 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter, where it clearly talks. 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter. I believe it's
I think it's
2 Samuel. Yeah. Con. You know. Did you have anything?
No, you can go back to Corinthians.
Con.
All right, it's back in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 25. For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet.
Who does that sound like, man? It talks about how he put all the everything under his feet. And we read about it in Ephesians 1:22. This is the same exact thing. Till he put his enemies under his feet. And this is just a footnote. Hey, man, this don't sound too pretty and comfortable to the average person, man. To a ruler, that sounds comfortable. To put his enemies under his feet. Yahawashi is a man of war, you know. Go ahead, Doc.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death.
Mm-hmm.
For he hath put all things under his feet. But when he said all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is accepted which did put all things under him.
Mm-hmm.
And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also himself be subject unto him that put all things under him, that the Most High may be all in all. Else what shall they do which are baptized for the dead, if the dead not rise at all? Why are they then baptized for the dead?
Hey, that's a good point, man. Because before we understood this truth, we were dead. Yahawashi had to conquer death first and all, just for us to be risen back up, to have the mindset that we have right now, to have that breath, you know? And we got to go through the same process. You know what I'm saying? Like that shows you that we died. It's kind of crazy, man, because we were dead before and we were made to life. But once Yahawashi was crucified, in a sense, we died with Yahawashi. But through all of that, we're made risen up. You know, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, because we're coming in his same stead, man.
That's right.
We got to take that same walk, so we have to kill off that man and be risen up as new men, as Yahawashi was raised back. You know?
That's right.
So we got to come in that same stead, man. You got to follow that same path.
God.
You know, it's more spiritual now.
God, that's right. Was there more on that? Let's see. Because I know the whole thing goes in about you know, pretty much how we going to be given new bodies. I don't know if you want to bring any of that out or not.
I mean, when we get to 45, it actually talks about him being the first Adam and being the last Adam. So that
Okay.
qualifies it for Yahawashi.
God.
So I can just jump down to that to the point. It's 1 Corinthians 15 and 45. Actually, I'm gonna start up. I'm starting at verse. Verse 40. I'm sorry, verse 39. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another fishes, and another birds.
You know, it's funny because it does specifically, you know, go in the category, but it's going in the category with all those creatures. Mm-hmm. You know, because you got the fowl, you got the beasts of the earth, and you got man, which we're considered beasts as well. But those are different classifications of flesh. Mm-hmm. You know. But it's going into its creatures.
Verse 40, there are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another.
Mm-hmm.
But there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. So it's going to just different glories, you know. And as far as the celestial, the angels, they have different glories, you know, so they be able to travel throughout dimensions, be with the Heavenly Father, certain things like that. Mm-hmm. And then the terrestrial is what? Your flesh, man. So we have different glories as well. You know, we can enjoy sex, you know, actual food, you know, different things that are on this plane, on the earth, you know. Mm-hmm. Verse 42. So also is a resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. Mm-hmm. Okay. It is sown in dishonor and is raised in glory. Okay, so it's going to what happened with Adam, man. That wickedness is sown on the earth, which actually I'm going to bring it out real quick in 2 Ezra 4.
Okay, hey, yeah, come on.
2 Ezra 4 and 29.
Slack, I'm just going to pull it up real quick. All right. There you go.
All right, so verse 30. 2 Ezra 4 and 30. For the grain of evil seed has been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning, and how much ungodliness hath it brought up until this time, and how much shall it yet bring forth until the time of threshing come. All right, so that evil and going back to that in 1 Corinthians 15, that backs up that honor and the dishonor being sown, okay, and that corruption being sown. All right.
That's right.
Verse 1, ponder now thyself how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed has brought forth, and with the ears shall be cut down, which are without number, how great a floor shall they fill. That was pretty much the point on that, just to back up that with that dishonor being sown in the earth, man. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was happening with Adam.
That's right.
All right, so let's go back to 1 Corinthians 15. Verse 43 again. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first Adam was made a living soul, and the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and after that which is spiritual.
Yeah, man, that's right. That's right. And Adam had to go through that process as well, man.
Mm-hmm.
Death and then life. You know? Now we have these bodies is it's physical, but I mean we're subject to death right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, through Yahawashi conquering that, we're gonna receive that spiritual body, man. And that spiritual body is gonna be able to do a lot of things.
That's right.
You ain't just gonna just be floating in the cosmos. Why is that? Because it's not heaven coming to earth, you know? So with heaven coming down here, you're gonna be able to do a lot of things with that body. So it ain't just no mist or nothing like that that's floating in the air, bro. You ain't gonna be no ball orb just floating in there. You know, now if you want to turn yourself into one, hey, you can do whatever you're gonna do. But you'll be able to do that within that body. You know? And that's the body Yahawashi got right now, man. And that's the body Adam got now.
Yep,
You know?
yep. He was born in the flesh, and he had to be reborn in the spirit, man.
That's right.
It's like that's why we have to become newborn babes in this truth, man. Because we were natural men, you know, we were subject to vanity in the world. But then once we learned Yahawashi, man, we died, man. We killed that old man off and was reborn in the spirit.
That's right.
You know?
That's right,
Verse
brother.
47, the first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is of the Lord from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly.
And then we're going to receive that glory, man. Lord willing, we those men. But even, let's say, Lord forbid the Lord, we end up going off and dying. Lord forbid it happens. But let's say we come back in the kingdom. We're still going to have that, But again, Lord forbid, hey, we want to be the elect, though. You know what I'm saying? But what the point I'm pretty much trying to make is the bodies we have right now are sown after Adam's. But those spiritual bodies that we have that are waiting for us are sown after Yahawashi. It's the same thing. In order to have access through that, the whole process had to happen where Adam died and Yahawashi rose, And like the brother had stated, we're going to have to go through that process, man. But we're in those earthly vessels right now. That's what the Lord always considered. That's why he considers us as being vessels. He talks about us at certain times, vessels that hold no value. Certain vessels are fit for righteousness and certain vessels are fitted for destruction. We're all in earthen vessels right now. A vessel is a pot, and a pot is made from the earth, And then we're going to have that spiritual one, man.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Verse 49, and as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
And that's a promise. And that's coming soon, Lord willing, but we can see it. All the stuff coming to pass, all the prophecy taking place, the apostles moving locations now. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. A lot of things are going on. We finna be revived, bro. Lord willing, we those men if we continue to endure. But hey, Yahawashi is getting ready to come back, man. That's right. That time is near. We gotta fight like we want this, man. Talking to myself too. We gotta fight like we want this, to have all this glory, to be able to do these things. I mean, you gotta serve the Lord first. You gotta serve the Lord first in order to do it. Once you serve the Lord first, do what you're supposed to do, you're going to receive all of that. All right? And did you have anything else, Harley, you had to say?
No, that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, Khan. With that being the case, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect Akia. I'm kicking this word of sincerity and truth. And I want to say also, Waha Rakakodash. So just put that in there because I, didn't mention it when I first did it. But we're going to end it off on that. Shalom.
Shalom.